I shall give you a boy who will be your grandson. This is the magnificent divine prophecy received by his grandfather, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the promised Messiah. His father, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih II, announced on the 26th of September 1909, Allah has given me the glad tiding that I will be blessed with a son who will be a Nasir-ad-Din, helper of faith. He will be committed to serving Islam. It is also said that he, the Messiah, shall die, and his kingdom descend to his son and the grandson. These prophecies were fulfilled in the person of Hazrat Hafiz Mirza Nasir Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih III.
ए नासिर दीन तेरी यादें हैं क़ल्बो नज़र का सरमाया इन यादों से हम जीते जी यादों के चमन महकाएंगे
Hazrat Hafiz Mirza Nasir Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih III, was born to Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad and Hazrat Sayyida Nasir Mahmuda Begum Sahiba on the 16th of November 1909 in Qadian. Under the directions of his revered father, he committed the whole of the Holy Quran to memory at the age of 13 in 1922. He learned Arabic and Urdu from Hazrat Maulvi Sarwar Shah Sahib.
Hazrat Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib, the Khalifatul Masih III, was a highly educated person, not only in religious education but also in secular education.
He was married to Hazrat Sayyida Mansura Begum Sahiba, who was the daughter of Hazrat Nawab Muhammad Ali Khan Sahib and Hazrat Sayyida Nawab Mubaraka Begum Sahiba. He then proceeded to England on the 6th of September 1934 for postgraduate studies at Balliol College, Oxford, and in due course obtained the honours degree of the University of Oxford and later became Master of Arts of the university. While in England, he started the publication of a quarterly magazine, Al-Islam. In November 1954, he was appointed president of Majlis Ansarullah. During his tenure as president, he infused a new life into the organization. In May 1955, he served as the president of the Sadr Anjuman Ahmadiyya, which office, though honorary, involved the discharge of heavy responsibilities at the center of the organizational pattern of the movement. He carried out the arduous responsibilities of the president diligently, remaining in this position until his election as the Khalifa 10 years later. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II passed away at 2 a.m. on the 8th of November 1965. The members of the community converged in large numbers upon Rabwa.
The election of the third caliph took place, and that happened on 8th of November 1965.
The college met in a deeply prayerful mood, and Sahibzada Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib, eldest son of the departed Khalifatul Masih, was elected Khalifatul Masih III by an overwhelming majority of the Electoral College. All the members of the Electoral College entered afresh into covenant of allegiance on his blessed hand. He made a brief address, and then all those who were outside of the Masjid Mubarak, numbering well over 5,000, took the oath of allegiance. As soon as the choice of the Electoral College became known, it was universally felt as if comfort and consolation were descending upon every heart from heaven. The blessed period of his Khilafat lasted for 17 years. From the beginning of his Khilafat, he showed proof of great zeal and drive in the pursuit of the objectives of the movement. A famous revelation of the promised Messiah is, "Kings will seek blessings from thy garments." This prophecy was first fulfilled during the time of the Third Khilafat in the person of Sir Singate, who was elected Governor-General of Gambia, West Africa. Mr. Singate, a devout Ahmadi Muslim, was previously president of all the Ahmadiyya branches in Gambia.
Once Sangati was elected as head of state of the Gambia, he said fervent prayers, thanked Allah for his elevation. For some time, he continued to pray. Then after his prayers, he made a request. And everybody sees that that was a historic request. And the request was to requested Hazrat Khalifa to Masih the Third that if he could give him a piece of the promised Messiah's garment.
Africa has to play a very important role in the life of man in times to come.
On the 4th of April 1970, Huzur embarked on a 9-week tour of West Africa. He visited Nigeria, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Liberia, Gambia and Sierra Leone. Large Ahmadiyya communities had flourished in these countries for quite some time. Members had longed to see Huzur in person. At last, their intense desire was fulfilled. African Ahmadi men, women, children and even elderly travelled long distances to see Huzur. They chanted heartwarming religious poems and uplifting slogans in their traditional ways. Huzur's inspiring speeches strengthened their faith. During Huzur's epic travel to this continent, many eminent personalities of African countries had audience with Huzur and attended the receptions given in his honor. They readily acknowledged educational, social as well as spiritual services rendered by the movement. Newspapers, radio and television gave wide coverage to his travels. In a nutshell, this journey was a tremendous success in many respects. In fact, it heralded a new era of preaching in West Africa. At the end of his visit to West Africa, he arrived in London, and in his Friday sermon of the 24th of May 1970 at the Fazl Mosque, gave a brief account of the impressions he had gathered in West Africa. He announced a scheme that he had conceived under divine direction of expanding the activities of the movement in West Africa through the establishment of a substantial number of schools and hospitals, which were a great need for the people of Africa.
And this scheme, he mentioned it as Nusrat Jahan scheme.
In September 1974, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Rahimahullah was summoned to the National Assembly of Pakistan, in which this was again an orchestrated drama by the National Assembly, that they questioned Hazrat Khalifatul Masih in minutest details, at length, about the doctrines, about the faith, about the basis of the faith of Ahmadiyyat in Islam, to which Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Rahimahullah and his team were able to provide answers in so unambiguous and detailed and satisfactory manner that it actually ridiculed, it was as a result, the whole assembly was ridiculed and it made them look ridiculous in their own eyes. Nevertheless, as it had already been planned, the motion was carried by the National Assembly, it was sent to the Senate, and within the matter of hours of having been sent, it was passed by the Senate, just as it had been planned.
Despite repeated requests, the proceedings of the Committee of the National Assembly have not yet been made public, proof that the opponents of the movement did not emerge with any credit from the proceedings. As has always been the case in the history of the movement, this is only one side of the picture.
Naturally, that was very disappointing, that was totally wrong. But the result was that while this decision was taken on one side, there was a lot of people within Pakistan who became more curious, and they decided that we should find out what is the reality about that. Instead of taking the decision in this way that, well, if the government has decided, that must be right. There were many people in all parts of Pakistan who became very curious that after all, why this decision has been taken. So let's go and find out. So the result was that more and more people contacted the Ahmadis here and there and demanded for literature and demanded for explanation and wanted to have more and more information. And also, large number of people, they started visiting Rabwa.
One of the most eventful incidents of the Third Khilafat, and indeed of the Ahmadiyya movement, was the Deliverance of Jesus from the Cross conference that took place in London in June 1978. Huzur arrived in London in June 1978, and the conference itself was opened on the 2nd of June at the Commonwealth Institute in Kensington, London. Literature relevant to the theme of the conference, produced by the eminent historians and writers, were on display. For this historic event, believers and friends came to gather information and to be addressed by Orientalists, archaeologists, scholars and theologians of many religions who had been invited from all over the world to speak on their beliefs. The opening ceremony took place before a packed main hall and to overflowing audiences in adjacent halls by television. There were participants from Pakistan, India, Africa, Asia, Europe and the USA. Eminent speakers like Sir Zafrullah Khan and Sahibzada Mirza Muzaffar Ahmad read their scholarly papers. In his address, Huzur spoke of the total uniqueness and perfection of God, the creator and master of all, and of man's total dependence upon him. He went on to compare the Christian and Islamic teachings, and with support from the Holy Quran, spoke at great length of the deliverance of Jesus from the cross. He conveyed with great love and humility the message to millions. Thousands of Europeans who listened to Huzur's address were impressed by the depth and breadth of his knowledge. Newspapers from around the world, magazines, television and radio carried news of the event in their respective countries. The promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "God has conveyed to me that my followers will excel so much in knowledge and insight that they will confound all others with the light of their truth, their reasoning, and their signs." This prophecy had been fulfilled in various forms over the passage of time and will continue to do so. During the blessed reign of the Third Khilafat, this prophecy was magnificently manifested in the person of Professor Dr. Abdus Salam.
I am a theoretical physicist, and we theoretical physicists are engaged on the following problem. We would like to understand the entire complexity of inanimate matter in terms of as few fundamental concepts as possible.
He was a renowned scientist who received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1979 from the King of Sweden. He was the first Muslim, and in fact first Pakistani, to receive this prestigious award.
Just by way of background, of course, when my father was awarded the Nobel Prize in October 1979, he received a phone call from the Nobel Foundation that morning, and his immediate reaction upon receiving this amazing piece of news was to come straight to the Fazl Masjid in London and offer Nawafil prayer. And then he returned back to home and began the various phone calls. And of course his first phone call was to Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III to inform him of the news. And I know, I wasn't actually there at the time, but my mother told me afterwards that the message from Huzur was of warm congratulations, and of how this is a great matter of pride, for all Ahmadi Muslims and all Pakistanis and the whole world over, that the first Muslim to win a Nobel Prize for physics was an Ahmadi.
In 1980, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih again travelled to Europe. Huzur inaugurated the Nur Mosque in Oslo, Norway, on the 1st of August 1980. The highlight of this tour was the laying of the foundation stone of the Basharat Mosque in Pedroabad, near Cordoba, Spain, on the 9th of October 1980. This was the first mosque to be built in Spain, 700 years after the Spanish Inquisition. On this occasion, he announced the magnificent Islamic motto, "Love for all, hatred for none." Later, Huzur travelled to Canada and the United States. This was Huzur's last tour of any country outside Pakistan. In June 1982, while Huzur was visiting Islamabad, he suffered a severe heart attack. He passed away on the 9th of June 1982 at 12:45 p.m. in Islamabad at the age of 73. May his soul rest in peace.
प्यार सबसे किसी से भी नफरत नहीं।